Hello, everyone. It's Mike from Downtown Comics, and I'm here as always with James Rossman. James, how are we doing today?
Doing good, Mike. How about you?
Good. All right, we're going to talk about all the new comics. Well, not all of them, but 3 each new comics coming out the week of June 25th, 2025. So we are at the end of June. Wow, can you believe it?
Yeah, so fast.
I mean, I guess we've been waiting for July because
of the
movies that are coming out, but I hated that time goes so fast. DowntownComics.com is the place to go to check out all the new releases, so don't forget that. Like, sharing, and subscribing is also super appreciated. Thank you, especially sharing. If you throw this out into the web of friends you must have, then that would be awesome. And then if you can put like maybe a book you read this week that you really liked in the comments, you don't even have to say anything about it. Just, I read this book, I really liked it. That would be helpful to everyone, I think, especially us. All right, so let's get going. We'll start, James, with you. What do you got for us?
So this week it was very heavy DC for me. Okay. But first is the new history of the DC universe.
Yes, I've been looking forward to this. I like a good encyclopedia book. I was a big fan of those. I mean, you're not old enough, but did you ever get... You probably never got those official histories of the Marvel Universe.
No,
or any of that stuff.
I wish.
I devoured those as a kid. I loved them. So, all right. Yeah, who wrote this?
Yeah, so it was by Mark Waid, and art was by Todd Knock and Jerry Ordway.
All right.
So, yeah, this is kind of cool because it's obviously, there's no speech bubbles or anything like that. So it's narrated by Barry Allen. So he's... they state that he's probably seen more of the past, present, future, and of like the multiverse in general than anyone else has. He was kind of the perfect person to do this. But yeah, it's very thorough. So there's not like a ton, like the way I'm going to talk about it is kind of like on surface level because there is a lot that, it kind of dives into a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, it's a comprehensive encyclopedia, and Mark Waid is one of those guys who is an expert in the history of the DC universe. So this was right up his alley. So
yeah, literally the perfect person to write this. But this issue is like the start of the dawn of the DC universe. Okay. And I think if I was not mistaken, it's through up to the explosion of Krypton.
Yes, so basically, in terms of the timeline, that would put it around the 1950s, suppose, is where we're putting when Krypton exploded, then the rocket starts. So, yeah, we get past World War II and into the 50s, I think, was the last entry before, So, in terms of the Earth timeline.
Right,
so,
okay.
Yep.
It's cool because, every page is kind of basically kind of like a splash page, essentially. Yeah. So it's really neat to see.
And it screams it screams hyperlinks where they highlight all the different teams and stuff, and luckily in the back, right, it has a complete outline for every single, so basically those hyperlinks I was talking about, like if you clicked on it, it would tell you exactly where they got that information from. And so in the back, there's 5-6 pages of just
probably. I think
here's the indica for all the stuff that was mentioned in the book. You want to know where these people first appeared. There's the issue, the date it came out. I would bet that it would be interesting if someone was able to just I'm going to read every book on this list in order. I bet it's not as hard to do it as it would be in the past. Obviously, a lot of this stuff may be available electronically where you can find it. So, but still, that would be, if someone wanted to do that, that would be interesting to just, I'm going to start with this first book and I'm going to just read everything in order.
And I told you earlier, I hope that, because this is a 4-issue miniseries thing, and I really hope that we get a really cool collected edition at the end.
Yeah,
I feel like this kind of deserves that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do. So I did mention to you, and you've probably never read it, but the original history of the DC universe came out after the first crisis.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So after the first crisis, that was the first big time that the DC universe tried to codify their history. Because up until then, they didn't care. They had been around so long, it wasn't like Marvel, where Marvel kind of started out, and since Stan Lee had editorial ability throughout the whole line, he was able to keep things consistent. And so Marvel has a more clear history from start to finish and does not have a lot of those universe-altering, timeline-changing things. But the DC universe has gone through, 2 or 3?
Yeah,
0 Hour, Crisis, and now, the more later ones. So, the first one was Marv Wolfman and George Perez.
Yeah, right.
It was 2 issues.
Yeah, and I know I mentioned to you earlier, I have heard some, negative chatter about this, but it's like you just said, like the DC universe has been rebooted a couple times. A bunch has happened since the 80s. So it's like, it was definitely time for that.
Yeah,
for sure.
no, it's time for a new one. Sure. Okay. Well, was there anything in there that you were like, oh, I didn't know that, or I didn't, not necessarily specific,
right, yeah.
but was there anything that jumped out at you?
I don't think anything that really jumped out. Honestly, a lot of this stuff, I feel like I kind of didn't know that much of, really, because being this issue is like
just the superhero.
Yeah, the superhero stuff. Yeah, so
right.
That's kind of like, I'm in the superhero, era where, I didn't know too much about the past,
right? Okay,
and stuff like that. So yeah, I think a lot of it I was just kind of like, huh, and that's where the timeline comes in, to where you're like, oh, okay, this is in such and such, So yeah, no, I really liked it. I thought it was really neat.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that this has. I did see somebody talking about how they think that this, like with Mark Waid's, has more of kind of like the way that Barry Allen's voicing it has more of a, like maybe a little bit more of a personality to it, a little bit. I thought that was kind of interesting than the one that came out in the 80s.
Right.
So, yeah. So, but I mean, I haven't read that one, so I can't really speak too much to that.
It was, again, very similar. I mean, it didn't have... It was actually, who was chronicling it? Oh, not the Anti-Monitor, the girl. Oh gosh, I'm kicking myself. Dang it, what was the girl's name? In the comments, Christ on Infinite Earths, the girl's name. She was working for the Anti-Monitor. She was a big part of that storyline. I can't remember, but she was the one narrating it.
Okay,
from the files of the So the Anti-Monitor was keeping files on the history of the multiverse, if I remember correctly, and she was dictating them after the crisis, or something like that. Yeah. God, what was her name?
And that one's probably
I can see her in my brain. I can't remember her name. Oh, I'm so mad at myself. But yeah, so there was a narrator, but so it was very similar. It was just she was the one that was tasked with chronicling the new universe, I guess. So,
okay. Yep. Yeah, I guess probably the only option is probably to read that online, because I'm sure the physical copy is.
Oh no, they actually made a no.
Oh,
they made a trade actually within the last. I think we've got it. In stock. They made a trade of it because it was only two. It was like one of those like 48 bookshelf square bound things, and so they made that again. It had been out of print, but I think within the last year they made a compilation. You can get both in just like a little soft cover.
Well, shoot, I might have to check that out then.
So yeah, cool. Yeah, just for the Perez art, it's worth
it. Yeah, exactly, absolutely.
All right, cool. Yeah, I think the only thing I took away from it that was new was that whole JSA, the big storyline about the younger sidekicks that had all disappeared and reappeared. That was a through line that was in that new JSA run that's currently going.
Oh yeah.
So that I think that was the only thing that really stuck out to me, is like, okay, this is kind of something you wouldn't have seen in a previous one, because that just
the JSA one, the current one, does that come out monthly?
It was. I don't know if it's still going, but it was monthly. Yeah, I don't know if it ended or they're still going, but but this was so cool. All right. Okay, so I do have some Marvel today. I know
nice.
You're DC.
I'm glad you're breaking it up.
Marvel. So my first one is the newest book, Spider-Man Wolverine. This is on issue number 2, and I actually didn't read issue number 1. I missed it. It's sold out, so I'll have to go back and find it. But luckily, this issue I didn't need to read the first one, which is always a good sign of a comic book. So if you want just a kick-ass fight between Spider-Man and Wolverine for 23 pages, this is the issue you want. This is very reminiscent. I'm just going to go, this gave me big Civil War movie vibes. Okay?
Makes sense.
So the Captain America the Winter Soldier / Iron Man throwdown.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So very similar storyline. I won't necessarily ruin it, but yeah, it's a big drag out fight. You got Carrie Andrews, if I'm pronouncing that right, on the art, and he's the guy who did Spider-Man Reign.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, his art style is very McFarlane-esque, and also who's that guy? Joe Madureira. I can't pronounce his name. So very kinetic art style, big splash pages. Still a story there though, so the throwdown is not without story implications and stuff. And of course, a big cliffhanger at the end. Huge cliffhanger. I have no idea what it means, but yeah, well worth a good read. It was fun. So, yeah, that's all I have to say about it. Just it was a really cool fight and had a good story reason for it, and there's a mystery and a good cliffhanger. So
nice. All right. So up next for me is Absolute 101 number 9.
Right.
Don't have too much to say about this, but this is the part 2 of the As My Mother's Made Me story arc that is going on right now in that book.
Okay.
So this issue, for those of you that have read the last issue, is Dr. Poison tells Diana about this like maze where she can find like another Amazon.
Okay.
So she, obviously she hears this. She's like, oh my gosh. She's like, yeah, I need to do this. So she plans to enter this maze, but Steve, she has some other friends that are with her. But it's weird because it's like this, like a new palace that she has built, kind of that it's like her Hall of Justice, kind of almost like of people, of friends. So they think that she's all crazy for doing this because it's like, okay, well, if they're telling you that there's this maze, you can find this Amazon. Like, where's the trap? Like, what's going on here?
It is Dr. Poison.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know if you trust anyone called Dr.
Right.
Poison. So
yeah, so
is Dr. Poison a male or female?
It's male. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't know.
Yeah. So yeah, no, they're basically like, oh, this could be a trap. There might be, there could be, what was it, a maze of legend, and where there's no door out is essentially kind of what they were talking about as well with this. So Diana's very undeterred, and she's like, I'm going to do it anyways. So she enters the maze, and not long before the cover A, where the big creature is behind her.
Yeah.
That actually happens, like that.
Okay.
It's
so is
not
that like a
one of those-
Minotaur? Is it a kind of a play on the Minotaur?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not like the other, a lot of comic book covers where it's like, oh, that didn't happen, but okay. So that was cool to see, that actually happens.
Sure.
So she discovers something kind of big in the maze that I definitely wasn't expecting. But yeah, that's kind of where this issue ends off. And I think this story arc runs for about 5 or 6 issues as well. So we'll be in this for quite a while.
Okay.
So
All
yeah,
right.
I honestly, Absolute Superman used to be my favorite of the Absolutes, but Wonder Woman and Batman are starting to
catch up.
Yeah, catch up, especially with Batman, with Bane and stuff like that. So,
sure.
So yeah, I'm loving all the Absolutes. So,
all right.
Yeah.
All right, I have another Marvel one, but it is a crossover. It's IP. It's Spider-Man versus Predator number 3. So when we last left, we've got basically the Predator in this one is a serial killer predator. So he is off the reservation. So he's not your standard predator who hunts. He doesn't have the honor mode that the other predators do. He's not hunting like fearsome hunters to try and get the trophy. He's just a killer. Okay. So he's killing everything. He doesn't care. He's killing animals, kids, doesn't matter. So at the end of issue 2, you see a spaceship come and 3 predators get off the spaceship. And so come to find out that this is like, I guess, the predator police or whatever. They heard, they heard the serial killer predators here. They're here to kill them or capture them or something. Because, obviously even though they're kind of predators are kind of scum, I guess. They're not the nicest people, but they do have a system of honor. This predator is breaking it, so they're here. Now, not only do you have that, though, but you have Spider-Man, who's still trying to find Mary Jane, because Mary Jane got lost in the sewers a couple issues ago. And so he's still trying to find Mary Jane. He's still trying to kind of he's just putting the pieces together that there's an alien butcher thing going on here. So he's just he's putting that together. Meanwhile, Kraven has now entered the field, and he knows that there's this super awesome hunter thing. And so he wants to do the Predator, I want to hunt this thing, because he's super game. So he's basically becoming his own version of the Predator. It's getting wild. So in this one, it's fun because Spider-Man actually does fight those 3 predators. So, and good times.
Sure, I was going to say, I'm sure that's
good
pretty
times. And on the horror side, Mary Jane and this other girl that she picked up in the sewers is being chased by the serial killer predator, and it is pretty gross and scary. I mean, if this was made into a movie, it would be super R-rated. There's some gross stuff. So, and the way they're trying to get away from the predator is pretty gross. So, so I'll let you read that. But no, this is pretty fun. I mean, the only weird thing is at the end it says to be concluded, so there's only one more issue.
Okay, I was wondering.
Yeah, a lot of story. I kind of wish this one was left to breathe to about 6 issues. I feel like they're setting it up for some fun stuff, but man, how are they going to wrap it up in one issue?
Right.
You know, it's not like the first two, the Predator versus Wolverine. Was very straightforward, you know, because each issue was set at a different timeline. So it was more like, you know, hey, the Predator fights this Wolverine, but it's the 1800s, and then the next one was like in the 1920s, and
so they don't go off of each other.
So the Predator Wolverine was set up as like the Wolverine fights a Predator in like various times that he's been alive for 200 years, right?
Gotcha.
And the Predators knew of him, and each one comes in and says, "Oh, I heard that you killed one of these guys in like 1800. Well, it's 1905 now or something. I'm going to give it a shot." I think they were different Predators. Maybe it was the same. I forget. Either way, it was a very standard setup that you understood, and so when it got to number 4, it's like, okay, we're done, you know. And then the Predator versus Black Panther had a certain story that was clearly wrapped up in issue 4, and again, it felt like, okay, yeah, the story's done. This one, I feel like there's a lot more story to tell. So I don't know. I kind of wish it would have gone 5 or 6, but it's fine. Yeah. It'll just be kind of a bloodbath at the end.
Yeah.
So
maybe they'll do one of those thick, like what are they, like 48 page or.
Maybe I don't think so. I mean, like I said, I'm being a little more like I'd like to see him stretch it out, but I mean, obviously they're just going to have a bunch of fights and it's going to be over.
That's true.
So,
yeah.
So I guess they don't need to make it longer. So maybe it's good that they wrap it up and move on to the next crossover, because the Predator has to kill the Marvel Universe.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So we got that.
I'll have to pick that up and trade when it comes out then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No, it's fun. I mean, I just love Predator stuff.
Yeah.
As you know. All right. There you go.
Oh. Sweet. All right. Well, so last up for me is Superman number 27. So did you read issue 25? I don't remember.
Did I read 25?
Because
I read Superman Unlimited. I know I read that.
Yeah, it is hard to keep.
Did I read? I don't think so. I think I told you that I wanted to get back on the Superman train, and I just haven't.
So I'm going to say maybe, but maybe I actually read 27. I don't remember.
Okay. Yeah. So, issue number 25 was kind of like the culmination of a lot of things that's happened previously.
Okay.
So, this issue kind of does that same thing where it's wrapping up a lot of different like kind of storylines. In this, we have Superman and his whole Red Rage, episodes going on. So he can't control, what he's doing at the moment, but he thinks he might know who can help, and that's Lex Luthor. So, considering Lex Luthor kind of put him in, in this Red Rage, in the first place. Right. So, but also there's another, storyline going on that's, getting wrapped up where, last issue we saw that Marilyn Moonlight showed up again. Okay. So Lex is confronting Mary Graves again, which he's basically making her kind of like this proposition. And then we have Dr. Farm and Graft. They're attacking the city with a giant robot that has a big Superman symbol on his chest. So Superman essentially goes to try to fight this robot, and he can't even touch it. So he has to do, without giving too much away, he has to basically do this like special thing to be able to fight the robot, which actually is really cool. I will say that. But this also, it doesn't definitively wrap up these storylines, but it does enough because of the whole Dark Legion thing that's coming up. Okay. But it wraps it up enough to where it's like, okay, well, if they didn't really touch it anymore, all right, cool. Like I'm happy with that. I got enough closure with it.
So the Dark Legion stuff, is that going to be Darkseid? Is Darkseid
that too? I don't know, because it's the I'm trying to remember where it starts. Where Dark Legion's going to start? Is that going to be its own comic?
I remember seeing a solicitation, like an advertisement, but I couldn't tell you for certain where it's going to be. I assumed it would be most of the Superman books, but I don't know that for sure even. So.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So.
Yeah. But no, this is kind of like, and there's one of the most important things I think in this issue though is the epilogue. So it's basically leading us into the Dark Legion storyline. Kind of like what's the Dark Legion been up to? But there's in the epilogue they state that there's still references of Darkseid. So what kind of form is he in? Like what does that look like? We know now that Booster Gold is going to be a big part of it. Okay. So and I feel like Booster Gold doesn't get used a lot.
No, I'm a big Booster Gold fan.
Yeah.
So
yep.
Yeah.
I think the first time I never read anything Booster Gold. The first time I saw was, and I don't remember the actor's name, was in Smallville when he played.
Oh, yeah. You mean you hadn't read Booster Gold in comics before you saw him on a TV show?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Which that was probably
interesting.
Oh gosh, that was.
I didn't watch Smallville, so I didn't even know.
Didn't?
I know they brought in towards the later seasons. They brought in a lot more like superheroes and stuff, but I didn't realize Booster Gold had actually been.
Yeah, he wasn't in the very very long, but
sure.
Yeah, I wish I could remember the actor's name, but yeah. So yeah, I'd say definitely read that epilogue, and yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say about that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm definitely excited for the Dark Legion storyline, though.
Okay. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. All right. My last one's going to be another DC. DC had a good week.
It did.
I guess.
Yeah. It absolutely.
Green Lantern 24. So again, one of the DC books that I always read seems to be Green Lantern. I love Green Lantern. This book I think it's been super solid, especially the art. Like I'm really impressed by whoever this artist is. He's got a really good style, and it's just a fun book to read. So we're continuing a bunch of storylines, but again, I think for good is if you miss an issue of Green Lantern, I think you can pick it up and follow along. So right now, Star, Sapphire, and Hal Jordan are on Earth, just doing their thing. So they're there. And they just come across, they capture some guy, they have a fight, capture some bad guys, decide to take them to prison before going off and having lunch at like Shanghai or something, because Star Sapphire's apologizing to Hal, because now that she has Green Lantern powers and stuff, Carol's apologizing to Hal for always being like really mad at him when he said he had to go off and save the universe and stuff. Nice. She's like, okay. I kind of get it now with this power and the responsibility and stuff. He's like, really? Okay. All right. So he's trying to kind of get back in with her. So he's like, hey, you want to go have lunch? And she's like, fine, we'll go have lunch, So, but anyway, they're going to drop him off at this prison. Well, you find out this prison is all of a sudden like really weird. There's something going on in the prison.
Okay.
And so they investigate, and there's a mystery there, and it also by the end of the adventure, it may give them an answer to some other problems that they've been dealing with in the book. Mm-hmm. So that's one facet. The other facet is there's a group of Green Lantern Corps people that are going out into the cosmos trying to find certain because they need power. They need to reconstitute the power battery.
Okay.
It's been destroyed. Most of the Green Lanterns still have like kind of this residual power thing because they can draw it from the ether of the emotional spectrum that's out there, kind of like the Force or whatever. But they need to really reform the Green Lantern Corps. They need to coalesce it into a power battery so that it can be drawn upon, because then it'd be strong enough. So this team includes Superboy, the Connor Kent Superboy, and Kyle Rayner. And then the other character, I don't remember her name, but she's some sort of archaeologist or something. And then one other dude that I don't remember the name. So there's 4 of them, and they basically get drawn to this what looks like an abandoned space station that the Guardians of the Universe had put out somewhere, because they, back in the day, you read your history, right? They had tried to, organize the galaxy, basically. So this was something. So they get there, and, it's kind of alien-esque or whatever, but they find some stuff, and at the end, a character seemingly returns, who I'm not a Green Lantern historian, so I don't know who this character is, but the way the character reacted and the way that it was in the dialogue. This character's was in Green Lantern at some point, may have been a major character. I'm not sure. I didn't recognize him or her. So we'll leave it at that. But yeah, just a really solid superhero space adventure.
Yes. Now, have you been reading Absolute Green Lantern by chance?
No.
Okay.
Again, Green Lantern Corps, I kind of been sticking to the main DC stuff. I'm in and out of the Absolutes, but I haven't dove in and read everything. So no.
I think I'm 2 issues behind in the All In Green Lantern, but I think for me, I'm enjoying the All In a little bit better than Absolute Green Lantern.
It's one of those. I mean, again, Green Lantern is one of those characters that, you can do anything with him just like the other ones,
right.
But it's not something where if you're gonna radically change it, because they already did that. So like you had the Hal Jordan character, and then you radically changed it at one point to be the Kyle Rayner character, who was completely different from Hal Jordan. You also did it with the Guy Gardner character, right? So there's been, 1, 2, 3, at least 3 main Green Lanterns that have had runs in the books that have been significantly different from the Hal Jordan. Then plus you have the Alan Scott Green Lantern, who's also different, right? Yeah. So it's been, you could call any of those apps, if you called the run of Guy Gardner as Green Lantern, an Absolute Green Lantern, that would apply because he was significantly different in origin and how he reacted and his attitude and stuff like that. So again, I mean, Absolute Green Lantern, to me, just on the surface without having read it, is just another version of this Green Lantern. So, I mean, I will get around to reading it, but it's not... It's not something that's like, oh, I really want to see what they did with the Green Lantern property. With the Batman and Superman, Wonder Woman, it's like, okay, they're gonna do something different that doesn't, there's not 17 versions of Superman, that they've done, that's, I guess, I agree with you.
And speaking of Green Lantern, gosh, I loved Darkest Night and Brightest Day.
Blackest Night,
that's right. Yeah, Blackest
Night.
Day.
Yep.
I loved those storylines.
So much. It's good stuff.
Jeff Johns, man.
I can't wait for the show if they ever really do it.
I know. The Lantern show. I think it'll be good.
Okay. That's it.
Wraps it up.
Okay, well, so I think that's it for this week. So, so next week we'll have more books. I think next week is kind of a skip week because of the holiday and it's the first week of the month.
That's right,
we'll see if we have to dig deep to get those books. But I'm sure there'll be something awesome. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks, James, as always. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.